Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Renu. I am again back with a new video, and this time I'm trying to cover all your FAQs, the long list of confusion. A lot of people have confusion how to fill actually IMM 0008 form along with that 0130, and a lot of confusion on a part where how can you actually validate the form. Some people are struggling, they're not able to sign the document, they're not able to scan the documents. So I will try to cover that too. In this video, I will be talking more about the work experience in detail, how you can calculate the number of hours, a big time confusion, and I'm sure all of you know that I have received thousands of queries on this particular question, so I'm going to try my level best to sort it out. How you can calculate the number of hours, even if you are on a part-time holder or a full-time holder, and how you can fill it up on your 0130 form. Along with that, a high request from many of you, I have come up with a format for a reference letter. So kudos to that. I hope that could be a great help to you. And then I'm going to talk about if you are at a stage where you want to ask for a refund, how you can go for the refund policy. So I will be covering each and everything in detail. Along with that, I will be covering a little more about the letter, what we have discussed last couple of weeks ago, a letter from IRCC, which all documents to be submitted and everything in detail. Also, I will be talking about, lifting the ban. So ban on flight, like June 21st is a date where the government has decided that probably the ban would be lifted and there would be flight coming from India to from and from Pakistan and other countries. uh, so let's quickly dive into it, and towards the end of this video I will be talking more in detail about NOCs. So whatever the confusion you have, I'll try to resort that. So just grab a cup of chai or a tea, whatever works for you, because this is going to be long. Let's dive into our main part, that is the status, what exactly it says today. So today, if you see here, workers in Canada, healthcare, 20,000 is actually the requirement. And so far, 2006 applications have been submitted. Under the category of workers in Canada, essential and non healthcare, 15,371. So that is the number. Now, if you see, last time when I went through this, it was like 2 days ago, it was 14,860. So it's not actually filling up so quick. Reason is very clear. IELTS is still not done. There are a lot of people are still in the process of documentation, so that's a good thing because you guys have still till November enough time for that. So make sure you have all the documents in one go, because the slightest of mistake can result in refusal of your application, and it could bounce back your application. So it's better to go with a complete set of documents in one go instead of submitting one by one. Although they do have IRCC web form, and I'm going to talk in detail what all documents can be upgraded to that. Now, people have started receiving AOR, that acknowledgement of receipt. And as I mentioned before also, it's more like assigning a file number. So it's an acknowledgement that your application has been received. So they are reviewing it. Now, in case if any non-mandatory document is there, they definitely would ask you to get it through, IRCC web form, which they have mentioned in the letter. And I'm going to walk it through. And let's talk about the work experience here first. Now, a lot of people also have a confusion that whether they can apply under two categories. So yes, you can actually apply it here. So if you see here, when you go onto this form, and I will send all the links in the description box below. You have any questions, you can write back to me. Now, are you currently working in Canada? You put all this yes. Do you have a valid work or study permit? Yes. Are you currently employed? Yes. And after adding all these questions, even in eligible healthcare occupations, I said yes. And now in this 1 year of work experience in past 3 years working in eligible essential occupations, I clicked yes. Now you have to understand that when you are actually filing under an extra A, your work experience has to be in that only. It cannot combine with an extra B. Now, to resolve that confusion, a lot of people would be thinking what I'm talking about. I'll just cover here now. So this is an extra A. So if you're actually applying under this category, and if you are for say a pharmacist, 3113131, and if you want, like, okay, I want to apply under this, at the same time you want to combine with an extra B, so it's clearly mentioned it cannot be uh, you know in this case it's going to be like an extra A, so you have to put 3131. So if you're actually working as a pharmacist, it will be very difficult to get the NOC like a boiler maker. So it's drastic difference. So you have to be very careful with that. So try to apply under one category. That's my strong advice. So when you put here, do you have at least 1 year of work experience in past 3 years? You can say no here if you are actually applying under non-healthcare, and then you have to click yes in this question. And then did you graduate from eligible programs? You can choose yes here. And then have you taken approved test? That's IELTS is mandatory, and then level 4 is the requirement, English, and then you go with the continue. And that's how you end up with this. Now if you see here, 15,375 is the number of applications have been submitted so far. Now let's go to our main page. Now a lot of people actually have confusion on how you can submit the documents, how to go with the NOCs and how to sign your documents. So I'm going to cover one by one in this form, by detailing you the steps. But before that, let me just give you an overview what all documents are to be submitted here. Now, this is the thing. Now, when you submit all your documents, now I would strongly recommend please go and check my previous like 2 videos. I have explained how you can fill the forms. I'm on 0008 form, 0130, 5669, and in detail, like step by step. There could be individual case where you might have any confusion. You can always write back to me. I'll try to resolve your queries within 48 business hours. So now this is the form. Now your IMM 0008 form will have a validate button at the top and bottom. So you don't have to sign it. If you see here, it's IMM 0008 form is a generic form, the basic form. If you notice, that's the main form. I'll just cover that after this. So we call these two forms 2D barcodes forms. So 2D barcode forms, actually they have explained why this is important. So you have to download that form, fill it out, and then you click on validate. You don't have to sign it. So you just have to make sure that you validate it. Now if you provided all the information, a new page with barcodes would appear at the end of the document, and it would look just like that. Okay, so you have to make sure that you validate this form. Now this is, again, they have mentioned you don't have to print that. So a lot of people have printed the document, so you don't have to print the 2D barcode form. Do not use the signature panel. So for that, they have clearly mentioned that when you save this file, what you have to do is you enter your name and answer security question. So you have to write, first say my name is Renu, so I'm going to put my Renu. And also some people have the query, they don't have the family name, so you can always put Renu as in first name as a family name. Then enter your name and answer a security question. This is an electronic signature. So that's how it is done. Okay, I hope I have been able to clarify your doubt. And you have to scan other set of documents here. Now the document what I was talking about, these are the set of documents you have to submit. So I'm just kind of review it. So generic application form, additional dependents, this has to be filled by the principal applicant and for the spouse. Now Schedule A is again background and declaration 5669, and this is again for the additional family information, and this is a mandatory form. So this would be considered as a part of mandatory form. You cannot submit your application without filling this up. Now let's quickly cover this up. Now this is actually Schedule 3, temporary resident to permanent resident pathway. I've already covered. I'm just gonna browse or walk you through the process so you can choose the criteria where exactly you have to fill language and your work experience. Now over here, if you see, now these are the NOCs you have to put. For say if you have worked for 3 months in a warehouse, you as a cashier, so you put 6611, that would be the NOC for that profile. Now in case if you have worked after leaving that warehouse of within 3 months, or you moved on to another profile for say as a retail salesperson, right? So over here retail salesperson NOC would be 6421. So you put that here, and then you have to put the employer name and hours per week. Now in case if you work for 20 hours, you have to add that over here. So I'm calculating how you can analyze the number of hours. So you put 20 hours per week over here. If you're working for 30 hours, you can put that information in. Now sometimes the information goes beyond this column, or maybe like here you have to list out the current position and identify of your employment. Some people are actually working for two companies at the same time, right? So for say somewhere you are working for like maybe 15 hours and then you're working for 10 hours. So you can, what you can do is that you can take the printout or of this form, like as an empty form, and then attach it over here with the form, so as an additional form, and could do the whole information like that. So from whichever the date you are working, like here is the current experience and here is the employment in last 3 years. So the eligibility for this is 1560 hours. That's the eligibility in last uh, 3 years time period, and it's actually required to be 30 hours per week. That's what they have requested, and I'll just cover that how it works. And then you have to put the duration till what time you have worked in the previous employment, and then you have to put the number of hours, employer name, and the NOC. Now NOC could be different. It's not required to be that you have to work as a cashier throughout. If you work for a cashier maybe 4 months at a warehouse, and then you have worked as a retail salesperson in some other organization for 4 months, and then you have started working somehow like maybe material handlers, the 7452, that would be the NOC. So you can actually combine the set of experience. So when the total would be like hours per week, you calculate it, and that has to be 1560 hours should be total, right? So that's how you're gonna calculate the number of hours. I hope I have been able to resolve. It's kind of confusing, guys. So I understand that. And then you have to save the document, okay? And some people, you can just put the signature over here and date over here, and you can put the name over here. And that's how it works. Now let's move on to this part. Now, if you go here, this is the form, yeah. So if you go on to the website, you'll see the work experience. So you need to, they have clarified, you need to show 1 year of experience, at least 1560 hours in the past 3 years. Okay, now it has to be per NOC mentioned in annexure A and annexure B. So this is annexure B. So your job profile should match with these NOCs 6611 cashiers. So let's quickly cover that. Per se, if I'm working as a machinist and machining, tooling and inspector. So 7231. So if I put, this is the one, yeah, so I am going to put 7231 and I'm going to enter it here. Now I'm going to talk about how you can submit the reference letter. So this is the job profile: machinist and machining and tooling inspectors. So machinist set up and operate. Now these could be the job titles. This is the hint. Now it's not going to be replica of exactly what it here. For say in this job profile, guys, you cannot be what exactly it is. Even if you try to put all the job duties in your reference letter, visa officer would be able to analyze that this document might be fabricated one, or you might trying to tamper with your document. So don't try to do it. Just be realistic, and it has to be in systematic way. So read and interpret engineering drawings, blueprints. You don't have to put each and every details. So at least cover 85 to 90% of your job duty should match with this, and try make sure that it should not confuse you with all these NOCs. Okay, now let's quickly cover the main thing that a lot of people had confusion, the reference letter. Now, I'll just read this first. The benchmark for TR to PR pathway is 1560 hours in last 3 years, and I hope you have got the clarity how you can calculate it. As I said, it has to be as per NOC listed in annexure A and B, and preferred should be 30 hours per week. Now, students are actually allowed to work 20 hours per week, and during the time of vacations, I believe that you can actually work full time. So I would recommend whatever the number of hours you have worked, you need to mention that in your form. Don't skip that part, okay? Because you never know, visa officer would try to give a advantage to that case. Now, you must provide the following to prove your work experience. Now, this I actually got it from cic.dc.ca website only. So, a copy of your work permit in Canada, that's mandatory. Then you have to have an employer reference letter for the periods of work experience, whatever you have done. The location of work is mandatory. You have to get it done because some people might be working in maybe Singapore or in Australia. So, you have to give the clarity on location of work. Then specific period of your employment to and fro. Then it's description of your main responsibilities and duties total annual salary, benefits, and again, number of hours you have worked per week, employer's name, signature, full address, telephone number, and email address. Now, these are the set of documents it's required to be there. Now, it's mentioned it's or. So, copies of T4 tax information slips and your notice of assessment that should be from CRA, that's Canadian Revenue Agency, or work contracts if you're working on contract basis, and then your pay stubs. So these are the mandatory requirements. Now, IRCC requires that the employment reference letter should be printed on the letterhead of the company. Okay, so it will have all the information on the letterhead, including the company's contact information, email address, phone number, and address, and the name, title, signature of the superior. It could be of your HR manager in case if your superior doesn't have the authority to issue a reference letter. Then they need to incorporate your name, your title, and your job duties, occupations with the subsequent details for each one. List of duties and details like your date works for that company, beginning and ending date of employment, and current date in case if you're employed with that company for sure. And again, you need to be active on job. You cannot apply if you have left that company or you are without work. That's mandatory requirement. Then number of work hours per week, and then salary and benefits. And again, you don't have to get it stamped as per the IRCC. That letter had not. Now this is the format. So you have to put the supervisor name over here at the very top, then position he or she holds, the name of the company, then date, to whom it may concern. This is to certify that name of your name was employed by company's name as a position, whatever the position. Make sure that it has to be a little closer to NOCs, of course, like the titles, what they have suggested. And then since till whatever the date, like you can say till date, right? At location of the work, and then she or he was working under my supervision with the following details. Then they have to mention the monthly salary, then base salary, benefits, and the number of hours per week, part-time or full-time role. Now, in the role designation, he or she was responsible for performing following job and responsibility. So again, it's not required to be exactly what it's mentioned onto the NOC. Now, if you see here, now these are the job duties you will be taking into account. So try to get at least 85 to 95% in it. So it'll be, gonna like if you're working actually. So it has to be again what exactly you are working. Don't tweak or misrepresent the information, because otherwise, your application would bounce back. And this is the last thing I would recommend, of course. So, description of job duties point wise, try to mention at least 8 to 10 duties as per NOCs listed in an extra A and B. And then please contact me for further information. Now, this is from a perspective of an employer's name, then signature, full address, telephone number, and email address. And again, it has to be on the letter of the company. I hope I have been able to clear your doubts here. Now, let's move on to the letter, what we have discussed in the past also, but let's me cover here. Now, if you have not gone through my video, I'll just send the link in the chat window. I've explained it in detail. So basically, they are saying that IRCC web form is not accepting any unsolicited documents. Okay, so you don't have to arbitrarily or on your own have to submit any document, because that's not going to be acceptable. It's futile. Now, mandatory requirement is actually, your English test. That's a valid English test. That's a first requirement. Then you have to have proof of your current employment, and then your form should be completed. That IMM 0130. Guys, try to make sure that whatever the submission you're doing, just do it in one go. Don't do it like, okay, let's me submit the receipt here and then I'll submit the documents here. Don't rush the things, because still 50% applications still are pending and you have enough time. So try to make best use of it. Now, this is all the documentation. Now, this is the IRCC web form. So in case if they ask you for the documentation part, as I mentioned in the beginning, that people have started receiving AORs. So when you receive that, you have to follow this method. I have explained it in the past in detail. So you have to choose permanent resident applied online as an option. Type of application, that is again express entry. You can, this would by default would come here. And then you put your inquiry. Now, when you put your inquiry, you can start from the bottom, but before that you just enter your passport number, because your inquiry or your submission or whatever the amendment you're doing, it would be attached to your passport, so it would be linked to your account without confusing anything. And then you put your family name, your given name, your email address, your date of birth, then country of birth, client ID, if you have that, put it, otherwise not required. Application number, you're supposed to get the application number by that time, so they probably would put that. And then telephone number, mobile number, your relationship to the now inquirer information in case if the consultant is doing that for you. Then is you have to check in that little box and then click on next and then submit the document here. Now this is how it works. Now let's move on to this is the format you have to assess your application. So I would recommend please go to this qualifying work experience. So when you click on that, it will again give you more clarity that work experience must meet the following requirements. It has to be 1 year full-time work experience and must have been acquired in the 3 years preceding. Now this is actually 1 year, like in as per your NOC, and I've covered that. Now here is the thing you have to make sure. Again, I'm just covering that. Now here, the 1 year work experience can be acquired through multiple periods of employment, but must equal at least 1,560 hours in 3 years. So a lot of people again had the confusion that, ma'am, I have worked in that particular factory for 6 months, and then I have left that company. Then I moved to a different profile, uh, in a knock that was not in demand. Okay, so you have 6 months of experience in that particular knock, which is listed here in an extra B, and then you were working for 3 months in a knock that is not listed, and then you again work for 6 months in another company where knock is matching. So basically, you still have 6 plus 6 is 12 months of experience. That's 1 year of experience, and total is 1,560 hours in the last 3 years. So that would be calculated because you are matching up to their requirement of 1 year, that is 1,560 hours, in last 3 years as per NOC listed in an extra B. So you should be good. Don't need to worry about that. Now, also, work experience must be acquired over a period of at least 1 year. Work in excess of 30 hours per week over a shorter period of time cannot compensate for any short overall period of experience. So, as a student, if you, like as I mentioned, you're allowed to work for 20 hours, but if you're working for 40 hours per se, so those additional 10 hours would not be counted, but 30 hours should be counted. Okay. So, what I would suggest is that file up your application if you're convinced that you're meeting up with the requirement. Now, in case if people now have started receiving like they have started receiving application in other categories, so that is called asking for refund. Now, how much you would be refunded for, say, if you have applied for PNP program or under CEC, a lot of people have their application through, so eventually they are looking for the refund. Now, you will be able to see here how you ask for a refund. Now, as per the policy, you will be paying the processing fee and the right of permanent residence fee, right? So, and in one go. Basically, you were supposed to pay only the processing fee as per the rule, but because of this TR to PR form, a lot of things are actually going off the track and off the rules, because the thumb rule says that processing fee has to be done in at the initial stage, and that used to happen like even 8 years ago. Now, the processing fee will not be refunded in case if they have already touched your application and you've got the AOR, that acknowledgement of receipt. So, in that particular scenario, you will be entitled to get only the right of permanent residence fee. However, if we have already started if we have already started processing your application, you will not get all your fees back. So all your fees back means you will not get your processing fees refund. Okay. So you will be only getting the right of permanent residence fee. And that could take up to 8 weeks to review your request and issue your the refund. Now, in case you're when you ask for a refund, we may ask you for some personal information. So this is make sure that you're eligible for a refund to contact you, and you can just go through the documentation part and you can put the information in here and fill up the form. Okay, so this is how it works. Now, as I mentioned, the flights would be opening hopefully by June 21st. That's what we are expecting. So a lot of people who are stuck in India or anywhere, so they probably will have good chance that they are on job, and they're still not able to apply because the thumb rule over here is that you need to be physically present in Canada to apply under this category. You cannot apply while you are traveling or while you're out of your country. One more confusion. Now let's sort out the confusion part here. A lot of people had dilemma, what if I file the case and then go and travel? I would recommend don't do that, guys. Hold on to your traveling part for the time being. Once you get the AOR and acknowledgement or the confirmation from visa officer, then you can plan for your stuff. Okay. Now, the next thing is that a lot of people also have confusion that, under certain circumstances, do we need to submit the documentation for my spouse, or I just should submit the document for myself? So it's clear, I would recommend please fill up all these forms, because these are mandatory. Even if your spouse is not accompanying you at this point of time, they can accompany you later, and at least you can sponsor them, right? So fill up all the forms whatever you can. Last minute confusion again. A lot of people have confusion that medicals is mandatory, not at this time. If you have gone through the medicals like in the past, you don't have to go through it. But if you haven't done that, get it done and submit the slip, whatever the appointment you have got through the documentation, like from the doctor. So you submit it. Submit all the proof that a medical appointment is scheduled, and then you can submit the application with that. That should be okay. Even in case of PCC, if you've already gone through the PCC, you don't have to submit that. But if you have not gone through the PCC, apply for it. And I have explained in my previous video how you can go through it, BLS site, and get it done from the BLS site, not from the local SP. That's the main question, because that's advisable. That's gonna add weightage to your application. And all rest things are mentioned out here. Again, the biometrics. Biometrics is compulsory only for those who have not gone through it. However, in case if you've already gone through the biometrics in the past, you definitely don't need to go through it, because biometric is valid for 10 years. And in case for the international students, you have already gone through it, like final transcripts and all, so the cap is all filled. But we will be expecting that hopefully Canadian visa officer, the minister would be able to evaluate the application, and in case if any good news come, I would definitely update that through my channel. Now, one more confusion people have, that in case if the documentation is in Punjabi or in Hindi language, guys, get it translated, because that's mandatory. You cannot submit a language in any foreign language, because for them, they're not able to understand our Punjabi and our Hindi, right? So get it certified, photocopy of original documents also, and then translate it. Okay, that's mandatory. And again, I hope I have covered this documentation part. So please go through this reference letter. This is the format you can follow. Make sure the job duties, whatever you explain or add to your file, should have all the job duties, whatever you are actually working as per what you're working at. And in case if you have any confusion regarding the NOCs, you can definitely ask me. However, as I mentioned, the list is here in extra B. So these are the NOCs. You can go through it one by one. I have explained in detail in last two of my videos, and I will be covering more onto it. You can always write back to me via YouTube, because that's the platform I'll be choosing to resolve all your queries quickly. So I hope this video has been a little help to you. If you have any confusion, you can always write back to me, and please subscribe to my channel so to have quick updates on time to time videos what I cover. Thank you so very much. Have a good day. Bye.